Sports Talk Chicago. Here with Jon Zaghloul, and we are back and ready for today's special guest. He's a sports radio pioneer, host of The Odds Couple on ESPN 1000, and a contributor to the Barroom Network and Win Daily Sports. Please welcome Mike North to the program. Mike, it's great to have you on. How are you?
What's going on, John? I'll tell you what, it's like stealing. I wake up every morning, I go another day, and a lot of good times coming up.
What was your reaction to the Justin Fields pick?
I was shocked. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think that they would pull a move like this. I did not think that any of the quarterbacks, I'm taking a little heat from the usual characters, the ones that liked Foles and Wilson and the same group of people that liked the 8-9 other quarterbacks during the offseason. I'm taking heat from them for daring to say that he's the fourth quarterback taken in the draft in the first round, and maybe would have been the fifth taken. Who knows if the Bears, would have stayed at 20 and New England is at 15. They said they got their man. I love Bear fans that think New England was going to do exactly like the Bears were going to do. New England usually does the opposite of most teams. That's why they've been successful over the years. That's why they'll be in the playoffs again very soon, much sooner than the Bears. But to move up for a guy that was dropping, and they did that for the second pick too. Fields was supposed to be a top 3 guy. He's dropping. We move up. Tevin Jenkins was supposed to be a 20th pick. I picked him for the Bears. He's dropping to 39. We move up to take him. I can't remember too many instances where the same team in consecutive rounds moved up for people dropping into purgatory. So it's what the Bears wanted to do. If he goes 30-20, or if he has the same record as Mitch at 29-21 with Mitch's stats, they'll build a statue in town for him. They'll build a statue and hold a parade.
Why do you think that is?
For whatever people didn't like Mitch Trubisky for, he was 29-21. I just saw on Twitter that he was 10-1 against the Vikings and the Lions.
Wow.
All right, so he couldn't beat Green Bay, but Jay Cutler was like 1-12, 1-13 against Green Bay. Jay was just horrible, and he got 8 years. This kid was like 1-3, 1-4, what have you, and he played Green Bay tough, but his record against the other 2 teams in the division with Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins is a record. I don't think Justin Fields is going to go 10 or 11-0 against those teams. I don't think he's going to go 10-1. So I'm still trying to figure out the rationale for Bear fans hating on Mitch Trubisky and loving a guy that was passed up by other teams. And I'm not saying those other teams are so brainy, because I think 2 of those quarterbacks are going to be busts out of the 3, John.
Who do you think is going to be a bust?
I think the Jet quarterback from Brigham Young is going to be a bust.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, when you say really, you sound shocked, like you don't know the history of the Jets. And don't forget, they were in a tougher division. There's no doubt, with New England and Tom Brady for years. Tom Brady, I've said this, had a 35-3 record against Buffalo, but he also had, I think, 6 automatic wins throughout his career by playing the AFC East. That's going to change a little bit, but I don't think a guy that had an okay record against top 5 powerhouse teams and really played a soft schedule is going to be the guy to go into New York City. And it just doesn't fit. He's not Jim McMahon out of BYU. He's not Steve Young out of BYU. I think the key here is nobody knew what quarterbacks were going to be taken where, who was going to drop where, which tells you that it's a weak draft for quarterbacks. Yet I'm hearing every team got a franchise quarterback, which is comical.
Mike North here on Sports Talk Chicago. So, Mike, is Justin Fields the savior for the Bears? Is he being hyped up too much, do you think?
Oh, somebody said it's the best Bear draft of all time. which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because the Sayers Butkus Dick Gordon draft was number one, and then you got all the drafts, from the '80s with McMahon and Jimbo Covert and guys like that. I mean, these are Bear fans. 70% of them have just lost their minds or don't know the history of the Bears. But I will tell you this: this is the most hyped draft that the Bears have ever had, and that's just going to put pressure on a kid that, quite frankly, doesn't know how to completely play the position yet. When you start thinking about Justin Fields, and the first thing that comes out of Mel Kiper's mouth is he runs a 4.40, I'm going, we're not talking track and field here. I understand that he's going to run a lot, but you know what happens to running quarterbacks? Is he Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. But, I think you put together the fact that I just want to know why the Bears are famous or infamous for not developing quarterbacks, and they take a beating for it. And am I right or wrong? They take a beating because they've never really developed many quarterbacks, okay? McMahon knew how to play the position when he came out. So did Harbaugh. He was a coach's son, okay? But yet Ohio State could have failure after failure at quarterback, and they don't take any heat for never having a quarterback pro ready. Ever. And now you got Ohio State product, who was, as I said on Twitter, Dwayne Haskins was just as good as he was. And they were saying the same thing about him that they're saying about this kid, who, by the way, left Georgia because Jake Fromm was there. Now, I'm not going to criticize the kid for making things better for himself, but he ran from the competition. So now he's going to lead this franchise. Is he really going to go 30-20 and be better than Mitch Trubisky was? I will counter with, if he has the same stats as Mitch Trubisky, I'll be as happy for him as I was for Mitch. But he'll be treated differently for whatever reason. For whatever reason, Mitch rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, I'm hearing Sam Darnold's at Carolina now, and he's going to have better weapons. He never had weapons around him. Mitch Trubisky never had that many weapons around him over the 4 years, and he made the playoffs twice, had twice as many touchdowns as interceptions, threw for over 10,000 yards. People say this, John, that don't know the game. Andy Dalton's thrown for a ton of yards, right?
Right.
All these guys throw a ton of yards, and Mitch didn't. Yet he completes 67% of his passes last year. You know how good that is? I don't care if they're 1-yard passes. 67% of his passes, right?
Correct.
You know why he's never thrown for a ton of yards?
Never been allowed to.
Number one, he's never been allowed to. But number two, when you're 29-21, you're not throwing the ball all over the field. You're leading.
Right.
Andy Dalton threw for 1,000 yards more a year because he was losing. He had to throw. And Bear fans don't get that. They don't understand that. All I know is he beat Matthew Stafford 5 out of 6 times. Beat the Vikings 5 times straight. So he can't beat Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, what was the big gripe? The big gripe was Mitch isn't Mahomes. So we got rid of Mitch. Is Justin Fields going to be Mahomes? Because that's not the way to do this. He's not going to be Mahomes, period. You're just hoping he's going to be as good as Mitch was, period. Because Mitch wasn't a bust. You don't go 10-1 against 2 teams in your division and be called a bust. Fantasy football players like stats. Mike North likes winning.
Matt Nagy said he wants to develop Fields like the Mahomes model. So he wants Andy Dalton to start all year, ideally, have Fields sit, and then have him learn and be ready for year 2. Do you like that strategy?
Mahomes could have started the first year and made it to the playoffs if they want to play that game. And the nonsense that Nagy had something to do with Mahomes' development, he knew how to play out of Texas Tech, number one. He's an athlete. He's the son of an athlete. And Nagy got Reed coffee. Okay. Andy Reid's the quarterback whisperer, for God's sake. He was an intern. I heard he helped develop McNabb. He was an intern. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, so the nonsense, the lying, and the same group of people. I took a poll the other day. I don't know where you stand. In fact, Carmen DeFalco, I asked Carmen about it. Carmen's sort of like teetering because Carmen's been down the road a couple times. And the same people that thought Foles was the savior think that Justin Fields is going to make us forget Mitch Trubisky. He's going to have to do a lot to make me forget that guy. Believe me. We let go of a 26-year-old quarterback that's made the playoffs twice. And I know he only signed with Buffalo for a couple million. And people think that's got something to do with something. Steve Young held a clipboard for 4 years. 4 years with the 49ers. And he was 3-16 as a starter with Tampa Bay. So there was no bigger bust than Steve Young. But then he got on a team with some talent.
I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, Mike, but it went viral. An ESPN analyst said that the Bears have never had a Pro Bowl quarterback since Jim McMahon. So it seems like already Mitch Trubisky is just being erased.
Oh, yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. They'll say alternate. But let me tell you something. I don't know if Harbaugh made the Pro Bowl 1 year. It's not important to me. What difference does that make? What difference does that make? I mean, the bottom line is that Mitch Trubisky wasn't a Pro Bowl quarterback because Aaron Rodgers was here. It's not because Mitch couldn't play. I mean, Matthew Stafford made the Pro Bowl, and Mitch beat him up every year. So I'm trying. What do you care more about? The national writers, the final tally for national and local people. Listen to this. Out of 28 people, 24 said Justin Fields is a no-brainer. And 4 are saying no, that he's going to be a bust. Who do you think I'm going to lean towards? I'm not leaning towards the 24 squares. The last time there were 3 quarterbacks taken successfully, one after the other, it's happened twice. 5 of the 6 were busts. 5 of the 6. So there's going to be more busts than there are going to be success stories. So we'll see what happens. But I don't like the combination of Ohio State and the Bears when it comes to quarterbacks.
The critique on that has been it's a lazy argument about Ohio State. What do you say to that?
It wouldn't be a lazy argument if Ohio State quarterbacks were successful. It's only a lazy argument for the people that just blindly say Fields is a no-brainer. I'll give you Dwayne Haskins last year.
Sure.
Or the year before. He just fell on his face. He's one of the worst. I've heard it all. RG3, Akili Smith, David Klingler, Tim Couch, Ryan Leaf. I could go all night long like Lionel Richie. Okay? And then when you hear about quarterbacks dropping that become successful, it's the same guys. Well, look at Brady. Give me 5 more. Well, look at Mahomes. Look at Brady. Look at Montana. Look at Mahomes. Look at Brady. Look at Montana. Look at Holmes. Look at Brady. Look at Montana. Give me a break. I said the other day on Twitter, there's 3 guys in this town. Listen to this. 3 guys in this town that I'm not saying they're columnists, radio hosts. They know there. I think there's more, but I don't listen to all the radio hosts. Somebody brought up a couple people the other day that did the same thing, and I said, well, I don't listen to them. But there are actual people in this town that wanted Cutler, wanted Foles, wanted Grandel with the White Sox, okay? Basically thought the Bulls were going to make the playoffs. I mean, I call them snake eyes. They're never right. Yet they have these forums, and if they were rated on being right or wrong, whether they kept their job or not, they'd be unemployed 10 years ago.
How do you feel about that? I mean, when you were a host every day on The Score, back when you hosted mornings and with Dan Jiggets, you guys were always right? You guys always had different opinions from the norm, and that's why you were successful.
Well, look, there's certain phonies out there. I hear one host going, "Great, I can't wait. I'm overjoyed. I'm having my joy drink." I'm going, wait a minute. First of all, act like a man, number one, and quit it because you've been on record as wanting 6 quarterbacks during the offseason. You thought this guy was, because you lose your credibility. Now, when Wannstedt got hired, for instance, I told Jiggets from day one, ask Jiggets, he'll never make it. You don't follow Ditka, he'll never make it. Okay? When they signed Cutler, day one, I said, he'll never make it. And they gave him 8 years. When they signed Trubisky, I said, I like him. When they got Urlacher, I said, I'd rather have Janikowski. 20 years later, Janikowski was still kicking, and Urlacher was getting hair plugs, you know? and basically he's a Hall of Fame type kicker. Urlacher, God bless him. But Urlacher didn't put up 6, 8, 9, 1,000 points in his career. So I always like to get ahead of the game. So if I say and with my record, you think people would give me the benefit of the doubt. Even by saying Cutler and Wannstedt alone should give me some cachet. But I keep getting battled by the same squares, which is fine with me. I'm still fighting Mitch Trubisky. I still got to defend Mitch Trubisky. He's been in Buffalo for 2 weeks. The least Mitch Trubisky can do is buy me a steak. Nobody has fought harder for him than me. God. But it's been fun. It's a fun debate, and I don't want Justin Fields to fail. I don't. I want him to succeed. I'm a Bear fan. But enough is enough. You wanted the two guys. Now the two guys. There's an adult I saw yesterday that wrote an apology letter to Ryan Pace.
Wow.
What are you, 10? What are you, crazy? Dear Ryan, I'm so sorry we got mad at you. Are you kidding me? All of a sudden, the guy that traded up, who was the bad guy for that, is a genius because he traded up to get. What happens if Mac Jones becomes a better quarterback with New England? And there's a good chance that's going to happen. Will then Fields take a beating like Trubisky did with Mahomes because the Bears should have taken Fields?
I doubt it.
Of course not, because they're biased in their thinking.
Mike North here on Sports Talk Chicago. Mike, how would you grade Ryan Pace's picks overall? Not just Fields, but Jenkins and the others that came along.
Successful. I think the only one that I'm worried about is the quarterback. The other stuff is successful. I was worried Jenkins dropped to 39. I understand that, but I like how they addressed the corner position, the offensive line, got himself a running back type of guy can return kicks. I thought he had a heck of a draft. I don't know if he had the top draft because I think they blew number one, but we'll see. If Fields comes through, one of the great drafts that the Bears have had, I'll give them that, a top 10 draft in the last 30 years. If Fields is a bust, and there's a good chance that could happen, then we'll see where this takes us. And, Andy Dalton seems to be the forgotten man, and now I'm hearing that they should probably start Fields game one. And this is nothing new. Nagy, that will mean lied to the other quarterbacks that he's a starter and that's it. And that would mean Dalton would have to sit, and that's the way it goes. He signed a $10 million deal. They basically overspent. And they still have Foles, don't they?
They do. And he's still on the books.
Yeah, it's just comical, man. I mean, this whole thing has just become a mess. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, that's not an automatic for the Bears. And let me ask you something. If the Detroit Lions knew that Justin Fields was coming out, why did they go for Goff?
Very good question.
Why?
Right.
Why? How come these other teams that need quarterbacks didn't go after Justin Fields? Why? But if you're the Minnesota Vikings, if you're Detroit, now the Minnesota Vikings, all of a sudden I'm reading, they were shocked when they took Fields. Okay. The media lies more than anybody. It's just a joke. Doesn't matter. It comes out 4 days later, And here's the worst part. You moved up past Belichick, and Belichick wasn't going to take Fields anyway. They said they got their man, and I believe Bill Belichick. Okay? because they have a pocket passer type of mentality. Last year was the first time, and they know they're not going far with Cam Newton running sweeps. That's not going to work.
You know, it's scary because this sounds like, again, a Trubisky situation where Ryan Pace kind of overpaid, and the teams who were behind him who were interested in a quarterback weren't even going to take Fields.
Agreed. It's the same damn thing.
And that should be scary to fans.
Well, I mean, and I had Jenkins going to the Bears at 20. We get him at 39, yet we had to trade up.
Right.
So we're not going to have a lot of picks, or we lost a lot of picks. You know, it's just amazing that how fickle the fan base is. I mean, I even people that were, there's this girl, Karen, she's on Twitter. Last year, she had number 10 jersey on. I can't wait. Mitch is my guy. And now I read her on Twitter. Let's just be understanding about this pick, and let's put all hands on deck for Justin Fields. That's not how I operate. I operate by telling people, you know what? It's okay to feel positive about the new guy, but you had a good guy there already. In my world, I was told 29 and 21 is good. So forget about all the other stats. I don't play fantasy football like Mike Tomczak told me. And McMahon has echoed, okay, that this is where quarterbacks go to die. Tomczak told me that 2 months ago. And Jay Hilgenberg told Tomczak, what is everybody's problem with Mitch Trubisky? He wins. See, they're pro football players.
Right.
They're not writers, or they're not journalists, or they're not talk show hosts, okay? Who, by the way, how much credibility can you have, okay? It was more of a, I see the same thing with Tony La Russa. If you hate La Russa and he loses, he's going to take a beating. If he wins, nobody says a word. Yet I sat through, I think Nagy did, in a lot of ways, develop Mitch Trubisky. I think he did. Trubisky saved his ass, and what did he get? The heave-ho, which is fine. Because Mitch Trubisky, I contend, is going to play 4 to 5 games with Buffalo this year.
Why do you say that?
Well, because Josh Allen's the quarterback. He's already had a concussion recently, and they do option running. He runs the football. So if anybody, now Josh Allen's a big kid. He could play all 16 games, but there might be blowouts he'll get in. But like I said, I think Mitch Trubisky might start a game or two. Who knows? He's going to be on Buffalo for only 1 year. And then he's going to be a starter in the next year. I'd be willing to bet anybody that. And how many quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round are better than Buffalo's second-string quarterback? We don't know yet. Maybe none of them, maybe all of them, maybe one of them, maybe 2 of them.
What's your prediction for the Bears in 2021?
Well, I see where the over-under 7.5 or 8, and then I saw where the Bear Brass said they'll win 10. I want Ryan Pace to put $500,000 down on the over then. Let's see if you'll win more than 8. They said they think they can win 10 with Dalton, but now we're being told maybe Dalton won't play all the games. But I mean, they said that they think they can win 10 games. Vegas doesn't think that. And what are they going to say? We can win 5 games with Dalton? They're not going to say that. So they got to try to be upbeat. But they're in a quandary here. I mean, with Rodgers and the way he is in Green Bay, with Stafford gone, and with Minnesota just being pedestrian, maybe one more year of Mitch would not have been a bad thing. We'll see. Because they got rid of Leno today. And, you know, this guy here played for 7 years, didn't miss a game. I mean, he played in 94 straight games. Was he the best? Absolutely not. But he wasn't their problem on the offensive line. And you're going to have Dalton back there that's basically stationary. So we'll see what happens.